Hey, what is going on, guys? RvzStealth here, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at 7 different jungle paths that pro players are using in patch 9.23. So with the changes in this patch, the diversity of jungle pathing is probably some of the best it's been in at least the past year or so. There's a lot of different paths you can take now in this patch and have great success with them, and we're going to be going over those in this video. So if we jump right into the first clear, this is going to be a quick level 3 gank bot lane clear. So this is Griffin Tarzan in the background gameplay here. He's starting at Wolves, getting his bot lane to leash him Wolves, taking blue Gromp, and then ganking bot. Now you can either start with blue or Wolves. If you can communicate with your bot lane and tell them to leash you Wolves, it's going to allow you to path a little bit faster down bot since you don't have to double back for those Wolves after you take your blue. If you're on the opposite side of the map, then you can look to do your red, your Raptors, your Krugs, and gank bot lane, and those are 2 really good paths if you're looking to get a level 3 gank bot lane in this patch. You do hit the level 3 now off of those 3 camps, so you can do the Wolves, the blue, the Gromp. You get the level 3 here off this Gromp, and then after that, he's going to look for a gank down bot lane. Now, if the gank down bot lane doesn't work, or if there's just not a gank to be had down bot lane when you're pathing there, you can look to vertical jungle. So you can go into the enemy's jungle, see if his red is up, see if his Krugs and his Raptors are up, and you can just farm those. So even if you don't get a successful gank down bot lane, you can still look to vertical jungle like you would in previous patches. So notice Tarzan here, he's just being very patient with this gank. There's not really anything else for him to do right now. So he's just sitting in the bush here, waiting for the enemies to either overstep a little bit or waiting for his teammates to look for an engage. So comes in for a gank here, gonna blow the flash, and it's a pretty successful early gank. The only downside to this path here is that the enemy jungler, if he's smart, like he's doing as you see on the minimap there, he's gonna invade the Lee Sin's top side. So he is gonna end up losing out on quite a bit of XP if he doesn't end up getting another successful gank here down bot lane, which he ends up doing after he gets the crab here. So a bit more of a riskier path for the higher elos. I think for lower elos to where junglers aren't really super cognizant of counter jungling and taking advantage of you being on one side of the map. Like that Olaf there, if this were a lower elo game, he might not have even went for an invade on Lee Sin's top side there, but he's just gonna take the crab, repeat gank down bot lane, pick himself up first blood here. So a really good start to this game for Tarzan. So for the second clear, this one is going to be a 3 camp into a gank, but it's going to be a horizontal clear instead of the previous vertical that we went over. So this is going to be the clear you want to take if you more so want to play towards your top lane, if you want to camp top, or you want to try to invade the enemy's red buff, or look to play towards mid, then you can look to go for this clear and get a very quick level 3. The previous one we went over, the first one there, that's going to be the one you want to take if you want to get a level 3 gank off bot lane. If you want to get to bot lane as quick as possible, try to snowball that lane, I'd look to do the first clear, but you always have to be weighing out your choices in champion select. So this is to where it's very important when you're in champion select, take a look at which lanes are gankable, take a look at where you want to be playing, and that will help you decide which path you should be looking to take. So if you are playing that aggressive jungler, if you want to hit the level 3 the quickest, get an early gank off, or start skirmishing very early, then these 2 paths are going to be the ones for you. So as we can see here in the background gameplay, very early gank your top lane. A lot of laners from this path are not going to expect you to be here this quick, because in previous patches you wouldn't be able to gank top lane at level 3 this early on into the game. So especially top laners, they're not going to be expecting this gank here a lot of the time, and you're going to find yourself picking up a very early kill. So for this third path here, it's going to be more of a cheese path to where you look to invade the enemy jungler at level 1 and look to take their buff and look to 3 buff them. So as you can see here, Rengar's team is looking to invade the Lee Sin in this game here, and this can be a really good path in this season because Ketchup XP got removed from the jungle. So if you're able to steal a couple of the enemy junglers camps in the early game and set them behind, then they're not going to be able to come back as easy as in previous patches. So this is a very good good to do if you're playing a jungler who can skirmish very well at level 1, and if your bot lane can skirmish well at level 1 as well. So in this game here, Rengar's team, they had a Thresh, very good level 1 skirmish. They had the Rengar, obviously very good skirmisher at level 1. So it's a great idea to look to make an aggressive invade play like that so that you can set the enemy jungler behind. The Rengar here, after he does take his red, or after he takes the Lee Sin's red, he has a couple options. So he can either look to farm the Lee Sin's Raptors along with his Krugs, take all of his bot side, or what he's doing here is he can just path back to his side of the map, take his red, make sure that Lee Sin doesn't take any of his top side here. So you got to kind of weigh out the situation. Rengar, not the best AoE clear jungler at level 2, so his ability to quickly take Raptors and Krugs isn't going to be the best, so he decides to come back to his red side here to make sure that Lee Sin doesn't just go over there and take his buff from you. So if you're playing more of an AoE jungler at level 2, if you can very quickly clear out the Raptors and clear out the Krugs, then you could just take that, so Lee Sin just gets completely starved, but this is still a fine path here as well. So moving on to our fourth clear now, this is going to be another one that you would look to take if you are playing a very aggressive early game jungler who does have a strong level 2 skirmish. So the Lee Sin here, very good level 2 skirmish. So what he's going to look to do in this game is he's just going to take his blue and he's just going to ignore all of his camps and look to invade the Elise's jungle. So grabs blue, this is actually Spirit here in the background gameplay going for this pass. So takes his blue, pass into Elise's jungle and looks to take your red. So this can be a really good path, especially for the lower elos, because a lot of the time junglers are not going to look to counter invade, like they're not going to look to vertical jungle here and look to go and take Lee Sin's red. So you're just going to end up 3-buffing them a lot of the time. You're going to be so far ahead of them if you do end up getting the red buff like he does here. Now if he was playing a jungler who does have better AoE, like I said earlier, he could look to take Raptors here as well. He could look to take Krugs, but he's just looking to come in for level 2 gank mid here, and then after he goes for this gank mid, he can go back into his top side of the map, take his red buff, secure his 3 buff, and just get ahead of this Elise. Moving on to our 5th clear now, this is going to be just your classic full clear. So this is still viable in this patch if you're playing a jungler who wants to get level 6 as quick as possible. If you're playing a jungler who just doesn't really want to gank in the early game, then this is still a very viable clear for this patch. So on junglers like the Karthus, the Nocturne, any level 6 jungler that you just want to hard farm in the early game, then blue, Gromp, Wolves, Raptors, red, Krugs, and then look for a Crab or look for a gank bot lane. Very viable path for this patch here. So not too much more to say about this one. If you just want to hard farm in the early game, then this is a great path for you to do. So the 6th path here is going to be a semi-full clear, doing your blue, your Wolves, your Raptors, your red, and then either looking for a gank, Crab, Krugs, depending on the situation. So with this clear, you're going to be skipping your Gromp, and if you're playing a jungler who does have very good AoE damage at level 2, but isn't very good at clearing out single target camps like the Gromp, then you can look to go for this path. So somebody like the Kiana here, not very good at soloing out the Gromp, takes quite a while. Pretty good at taking Wolves though, pretty good at taking Raptors, so she's going to look to do that instead in this gameplay. This is actually Fnatic's jungler, self-made in the background gameplay here, so any jungler, say like the Shyvana, like the Rammus, the Amumu, much better at taking Wolves and Raptors than taking Gromp. So you can look to do this path on them if you still want to try to get an early gank off, but you don't want to waste a lot of time taking that Gromp. And then for the 7th and final path, it's going to be the level 2 gank mid. So this is still completely a viable option to go for in this patch right now. We got Santorin in the background gameplay, and I was taking a look at a bunch of his gameplays. When he's playing Gragas, he likes to go for level 2 gank bot lane. The Camille here goes for the level 2 gank mid, and if you can make these work at level 2 and the enemy just disrespects it, you just get a super good snowball going very early on. So right here, he looks to come to gank mid. He's just going to be very patient for the Zac to move up a little bit. I don't know why there's a Zac mid, by the way. That's kind of odd, but comes in for a gank mid here. E off the wall onto the Zac. Zac is super greedy here. Like, I don't know why he just doesn't flash away. I guess he assumes that he's close enough to his tower that he doesn't have to flash, and Yasuo would not be able to kill him under tower there, but he ends up going down anyways. It's really important that if you're playing against a level 2 gank jungler, you just play safe at the level 1 there so that you don't die, or that you flash away if you do get ganked, so you don't give the enemy jungler an early kill there. But if you are playing one of those aggressive junglers like the Camille, the Xin, the Gragas, the Jarvan, level 2 ganks are still great to do in this patch. To where you want to path after your level 2 gank is going to depend on the game and on the situation, but most of the time, if you're ganking level 2 top lane or bot lane, you want to take a look at the enemy's blue buff, see if that's still up. If it is, then look to take it, because if it's a good enemy jungler, then what he's going to do is, if he's starting on the opposite side of the map, he's just going to look to go towards your blue buff, and he's going to look to take that. And if he does that, and if he 3 buffs you, if you just go back into your jungle and you don't take his blue buff, you're going to fall pretty far behind there in the early game. So always take a peek on the enemy's blue buff, see if it's still up. If it's not, then look to go back into your red side of the jungle and look to continue farming. So that's gonna round out the video, guys. Those are 7 of the most common and strongest paths that pro players are taking right now in patch 9.23. So if you guys did enjoy this video, if you found it helpful, make sure to drop a like and subscribe if you've yet to already. Thanks for watching, guys. Have an awesome day, and I will see you in my next video.